I made a video about the Young Turks host Hassan Piker getting suspended from Twitch, and I said I don't think he should be suspended. I believe people should be allowed to speak their awful opinions on these platforms, and yeah, Hassan Piker's opinion was awful. Sure enough, like clockwork, we see all of these people aligned with, the far left and Antifa saying, we're the free speech warriors to defend these people. Well, here's the thing. Every single time we see a backlash against the left, I defend their right to speech. And then they gloss over me with hundreds of thousands of views on these videos defending the free speech of people like Antifa, the protesters, and Hassan Piker, and they claim I don't exist. That's fine. You want to live in your wacky little Wally world, you're free to do so. But let me be clear. Free speech means free speech for everybody, even wacko Antifa professors. So when I first heard this story, I didn't care. Well, because the first iteration of the story about the Antifa professor in Iowa or whatever was just that. I saw a story circulating and it said professor avows his support for Antifa, and I said, yeah, what else is new? I don't really care. Now the dude's been forced to resign over this because colleges are illiberal, ridiculous institutions where they're terrified of the children, or more importantly, they're scared of backlash because they don't want to lose customers. College is trash. It used to be something better. Now it's an overpriced scam that's ruining the lives of young people. And there's a lot of politics problems, but this is a part of that problem too. So let me start off by saying one thing to reiterate what I just said. This man should not have been forced out of his job simply for saying he was Antifa. You want to engage in violence or whatever, okay, that's a different story. Simply coming out and saying you support Antifa because you don't like a certain, group of people, fine. And that's a good thing, because you don't want your kids to go into a classroom where someone's going to be preaching some ridiculous ideology. I don't care what the ideology is. It's good for people to know what the professor thinks. Free speech is better. Well, the guy's been forced out of his job, but I can't help, but I absolutely must stress that while I disagree with this move to remove the Antifa professor, there's a little bit of you reap what you sow. And no, this is not to gloat. No, I'm not happy for this. This is a bad thing, and I'm not the only one who thinks so. We have this story from RESIGN, from Robbie Sove. It is a blow to free speech. Absolutely. But let me explain something important. You see this photo here on the bottom when Antifa showed up in Berkeley and torched a free speech sign? What I didn't realize was that this was a replica of the original Berkeley 1964 free speech banner from the photo. I kid you not. These illiberal authoritarian lunatics made a replica of the original free speech sign and burned it in Berkeley. These people are nuts. They're illiberal. They do not believe in free speech. They oppose it. They will burn that sign. And you know what? That's why it's important this guy tells us he believes it. Because for us, the principled, who believe in a right to inquiry and expression, we want to know the guy's thinking this stuff. We want to know who he supports. Now, he shouldn't have been fired because this will discourage other people from coming out and explaining they believe these things. Listen, it's a community college in Iowa, I guess. It's not the biggest story in the world. But I absolutely will call out this illiberal lunacy. So here's what we're going to do. This is the original story. Let's read through this just a little bit. I'm not going to read through the entire thing of it. It's kind of silly. But I want to talk about Robbie Sove's opinion on the matter. I happen to agree that it is a blow to free speech. If you don't want your kid to go to school with this guy, you need to know what he thinks. Think about any one of these teachers who might believe other insane, prophetic religions and cultish nonsense, and you don't know about it. And when this happens, I'll tell you what, everyone's going to shut up. But they're still going to want to push that ideology. They say an adjunct professor in the English department at Kirkwood Community College prompted complaints after he posted an inflammatory message in the Facebook group Iowa Antifa, and then confirmed to Eastern Iowa TV station KCRG that he is Antifa. Jeff Klinsman, who taught at Kirkwood since 2010, commented on the image of a tweet from President Donald Trump that read, "Radical left whack jobs go around hitting people over the head with baseball bats." Well, I believe they're using batons and clubs, but that's not wrong. Klinsman commented on the image saying, "Yeah, I know who I'd clock with the bat. Don't play the game. We know what you're alluding to." And that's where you get in trouble. I know who I'd hit with a bat. Right. He's crossing a line. He's getting close to it. And there should be some, I think saying something like that should prompt someone to say, whoa, chill out. Don't, strike one, stop. Don't go any further than that. That's nuts. Instead, the dude's been outed from his job. He wrote that he affirms he is Antifa. He told the news station. It's unclear if Klinsmann was confirming his support for Antifa, a non-hierarchical organization committed to combating right-wing extremists, or if he was simply voicing his support for anti-fascism as a concept. I believe there's photos of him with, in Antifa garb. I could be wrong. KCRG has reported that Klinsmann has affirmed that his behavior has prompted complaints to Kirkwood. He could not be reached for comment by the Register. Listen. Let me read this first. The Secret Service told KCRG they are aware of his post, but would not confirm they are investigating as a threat to the president. I don't know why this guy is news. It's a small community college in Iowa, but it is. For me, the news is that he was outed from his job. They say, quote, this is from the guy. It's not pretty and I'm not proud, but seeing what evangelical Christians are doing to this country and its people fills me with rage and a desire to exact revenge. So this guy is dancing on the line. I believe the appropriate response is to tell him to stop or or leave. And perhaps that's what happened. Maybe they said stop, dancing like he's dancing on the line of violence, right? That's a bit different. Just being Antifa and supporting Antifa is different from saying you want revenge and you want to swing bats and stuff like that. But I think the appropriate response is something like chill out or you're done. I guess, though, that may be the issue because he resigned. Now, this is a story about campus free speech from Reason. They say by punishing Jeff Klinsmann, Kirkwood Community College has dealt a blow to free speech. This is a challenge, I got to admit, because it's free speech up until the point you incite violence or post a threat. The issue here is he got as close as he could get without actually doing it. So it's a gray area. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people who are going to say, no way, man, that was a threat. That was a threat. And some people are going to say it was veiled. It wasn't a real threat. I'm not going to tell you which side is right or wrong. I'm just going to tell you that if we keep punishing people for saying things they believe, outside of violence, I'm saying like literally their opinions on Antifa or racism or whatever, then you're going to have secret groups and they're going to go into dark corners and they will fester. And that's the problem. So Robbie Sove writes, in yet another example of campuses prioritizing nebulous safety concerns over free speech, a community college has pushed a professor to resign for stating his alignment with Antifa. They go on to show his posts, but let's read. On Friday, Kirkwood announced that Klinsmann had resigned. While the college did not immediately respond to a request for comment, the official statement certainly makes it sound like this was a forced resignation, saying, the school has stated that the professor was not removed due to his views or his right to express them. Kirkwood says their decision is based solely on their commitment to harboring a safe learning environment for our students, faculty, and staff. The college has also stated, however, when the expression of views by him or any member of our community is perceived as placing public safety in jeopardy or hampers our ability to deliver on our mission, we will always do what is necessary in service to our students' pursuit of higher education. I'll say this right now. I don't think the guy should be out. Based on his statements, even if they were toeing the line, I don't think he should be out. I do not. I understand why they removed him, though. And this is a challenge, right? A challenge about what is the principle of free speech versus the obligation of an institution. And I think sunlight is the best disinfectant. But here's this admittedly is let me read this. Robbie writes, this is a troubling confession. Quote, when the expression of views by him or any member of our community is perceived as placing public safety in jeopardy, college officials believe they must take action, even if that perception is wrong, as it was in this case. Neither Klinsmann's support for Antifa nor his stated interest in hitting someone, implied to be Trump, with a bat represents any actual threat. I absolutely respect that position. Now, I'll entertain the nuance here. I think even if, he was trying to make an allusion to that, he shouldn't be removed. He shouldn't be, because we're entering dangerous territory, and Robbie makes the excellent point of perception. We can't have people say, you're making us less safe based on my perception. And that's been one of the biggest problems with college campuses. Someone comes out and says you can wear whatever Halloween costume you want, and they say it's not safe. What does that mean? Well, in my perception, and therein lies the problem. I agree with Robbie. It was not a direct or actual threat. It was him just being a boorish idiot on social media. But Robbie recognizes Antifa is a liberal movement that doesn't believe in extending free speech rights to its opponents. And thus it's always somewhat ironic to watch this perspective used against them and other far-left anti-free speech folk. Nevertheless, even those who do not recognize free speech as a right should still enjoy its benefits. Getting rid of Klinsmann was a serious mistake. and a powerful example of what happens when administrators interpret a mandate to protect student safety as an excuse to censor provocative speech. He says, for more about Antifa, okay, he's talking about his book. So I'll stress this. You know what? I'm sorry your ideology is removing you, but this is your fault. This is what your side believes. Right now, there is a tacit alliance between the center and the right over issues of principle, free speech, liberty, libertarianism, etc. I believe in many left-wing policies. I like Tulsi Gabbard better than basically any other politician running right now. I disagree with a lot of what she pushes, notably like a minimum wage, $15 and all that stuff. It's fine. And I think Dan Crenshaw is also absolutely fantastic, but I disagree with him more. Tulsi and Dan, I think, are like my two favorite politicians right now. So what we have is there are people on the left, center, and right who agree free speech is paramount. Then we have Antifa that will burn a replica of the original Berkeley free speech sign. They don't believe in individual liberty. They are not liberal. That's a fact. They hate liberals. They hate liberals. So when this guy gets kicked out, the first thing I did was I laughed. Not because I think it's a good thing, not because I'm happy he got kicked out. It's ironic. Irony is it's humorous. Like seeing a fire truck on fire. This guy burning the free speech sign. And what happens? They come for you. They come for you. You reap what you sow. The guy should not have been forced out. I believe he was towing the line, and I can understand why they wanted to remove him, but I believe it is a dangerous precedent. And I'm gonna agree here with Robbie. Look, man, it's tough. It absolutely is tough. But I don't believe I believe we need to understand the hard line of what a direct threat is. I think that's fair to say. And if he said, I know who I'd like to hit with a bat, yeah. Well, here's the thing. People get mad all the time and want to do something, but have self-restraint and don't do it. So if you said, man, I want to punch that guy, oof. Yeah, you can express yourself that way. And it's even more alarming where someone might be extremely hyperbolic and be like, I'm gonna kill that, MF, or oh man, I can't stand it. And they don't really mean it. There was a joke I used to, I was a skit that I was talking to my friends about putting together that I thought would be really funny at the height of the NSA scandal. Imagine this. And I'm gonna have to be very careful on language here for this reason, because this is the part of the joke. Imagine, here's the idea for a sketch I wanted to do. There's two spies or like feds or whatever in a van with the headphone listening, and you hear guys talking, saying things like, all right, go get the device and we're going to plant it on the bridge. And then, they plan things, right? Let's just say, and they talk about, all right, now get your weapons and go do this. And they're planning something that sounds like it's going to be a serious mass incident, if you know what I mean. And then the people in the vans are hearing all this in great detail about, you do this, I'll do this, that's the plan. All right, let's go. And then they say, we gotta move. These guys are planning some kind of attack. And they kick the door in, and it's like three really fat dudes just playing GTA with like Cheetos all over their face. And they're like, oh, they're playing Grand Theft Auto. That's the point. The point is, sometimes people will say something and they're just being hyperbolic and they're exaggerating. And we're getting to a point now where in the UK, people are getting arrested for rap lyrics. We're hearing now that you can't even post a meme without it being perceived as a threat. So we need to know for sure what the line is. And I think someone saying, man, I'd like to hit that guy. Oof. Yeah, I'd like to. Doesn't mean I will. That's the point. So look, you know me. I do not like Antifa. I think they're violent authoritarians. So I gotta admit, there is humor in seeing the people who would burn a free speech sign get kicked out of a college because it's what you believe in. I can't imagine you're upset about this. It's what you wanted. You wanted the authority to have the right to remove your speech, when it's too provocative. But I'll tell you what, I think that was wrong. And I'll admit, I'm sure this guy doesn't want to be forced out. And I'll make one more extremely important point. You have a person in a community college who says this. You go to them and say, tone it down. They will probably say yes. Now what happens? Well, now that he's got no job, there's nothing tying him to the community, and he can only go in the other direction. As I've stated in almost every instance of these bannings, I'm like, listen, man, if you're upset about hate speech, banning someone is the worst thing you can do for two reasons. It will put them in a corner where they're surrounded by other people banned for hate speech, and they'll just escalate their rhetoric. The other thing is you lose control of the situation. If someone is posting, bad words on Twitter or whatever, you can just say, please don't post that. Otherwise, we'll have to remove you. And many of them stop. Instead, what do we see? We see like an axe coming down, a guillotine, just saying, no tolerance, no second chances. No second chances. Now, Twitter is trying to do better, sure, but there are people being banned from YouTube who have broken no rules. And therein lies the problem. If you don't define them and you don't give a warning, you will make the problem worse. And that's the most important thing. The best thing we can do is dialogue. Bring people together, mix things up a little bit. You know, Minds does this, Minds.com, I believe. The main feed is a mix. You like the algorithm isn't necessarily based on what you like. It's also partly based on what you don't like. I could be wrong about this, but the general idea is you will see things across the board, and that's because they don't want an echo chamber forming. And again, I stress I'm not 100% on this. I could be getting it wrong. The point is, removing this guy is going to make him more extreme. It's going to get him to rile up his base. They're going to claim they're being oppressed, and it's going to make things worse. It's a Chinese finger trap problem. Don't try and pull because that's the obvious solution. You need to do something counterintuitive. And the counterintuitive thing maybe would have been to host an event on Antifa and bring in some people and have them sit down and have a conversation about it. I really think that would have been the best thing to do. Dialogue. Like Daryl Davis says, when two people are talking, they're not fighting. That guy's amazing. So, that being said, he's going to be at our event, and I'm so honored. It is an amazing privilege. This guy's amazing. Look him up. I'm gonna wrap it up here. Thanks for hanging out. Stick around. Next segment will be at 1 p.m. on this channel, and I will see you all then.